ไปทำ
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another round of rapid racing action in the middle of the pack Racing League Radical Eurotrip Championship for 2023, brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today marks round 7 of 12 as we take a look back at all the racing action which occurred as of last week at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit. Indeed, we're here in Germany today at a circuit that needs no introduction for the fact it's been the centre of controversy, drama, but also some exciting racing over the course of its plentiful history, and with the circuit having opened up all the way back in 1932 and originally being a 7.45 mile jaunt through the local Hockheim forest, and also known as the Triangle Circuit back there in reference to the fact only 3 major corners and multiple extensive straights, it made its way around the Hockenheim town. It has gradually been evolved and gone through 3 major redesigns to take the format that it does today as of 2002, where it was redesigned by one and only Hermann Tilke, and it is now a circuit that's much shorter, but it's permanent at 2.84 miles in length, consists of 16 corners with wide variety, multiple straights, and will absolutely ram-packed into that as multiple direction changes, hairpins, and on top of that a chicane or two. And it is a circuit nowadays that many would argue, why can't we have the old school Hockenheim? But those who've got used to it find it's a circuit that challenges a driver's technical prowess and means they have to be one with their machine if they want to do well here. Well, as our drivers get ready to go racing today in this round, that we're covering all the racing actions as if it were live, with the racing occurring as of what was last week, back on Wednesday the 25th of October 2023, but today is Tuesday the 31st of October. It's Halloween, and could there be some frights in store for some of our drivers? Could we have a horror story or two, or will it all go the way our drivers want it to? We're going to find out all that very shortly as we get ready to go racing. And to take you for our schedule for today, and timed in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time at UTC. As we can see, in just under 12 minutes time, we'll be going into our qualifying session, 15 minutes in duration, with all our drivers out of the circuit in their respective assigned sessions, and after which we'll be making our way to the grid for our one and only race today, and that'll be our 30-minute sprint race, scheduled to take place as of 8:30. This broadcast is being brought to you live via 2 media platforms for your viewing pleasure. Firstly, welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube, and that'll be via youtube.com and searching for TX141 TX All30 Paul Walsh on YouTube. Or, on the other hand, you do also have the Twitch broadcast available, and that's at twitch.tv/TX141. And for those asking who is TX141, who is Paul Walsh, well, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Now we bring you all your racing action over the entirety of this season, including today. And well, let's look at that season calendar and tell you the story thus far. For as we can see, we're now into the second half of the season, and with it the second half of the Central Cup. And well, in round number 7 of 12, we recap away all the way back to the 6th of September for round number 1. We kicked off, of course, with the Northern Cup, with a double header in Belgium, starting at the infamous Circuit de Spa Francorchamps, and there we got to see battling plenty up and down the field, and plenty of drama, but particularly in the AM class here, with the lead swapped hands 3 times over the course of the race. Indeed, it was uncertain who was going to be the winner. And then round number 2, we carried on the theme of drama, and we carried on the theme of being in Belgium, but we went to the lesser known perhaps Belgian circuit, a circuit sold at everybody's second favourite Belgian circuit. On the 13th of September, we saw the curbs claim many a driver there, but those who were able to steer clear of the danger of the curbs and the chicanes, they were able to come out on major form, and particularly the front of the field with that infamous battle between Peter Lowe, James Logsdon and Jason Landry. And then in round number 3, we made our way to the United Kingdom for what was expected to be a British doubleheader, and it started at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit on the 20th of September, and what a round of racing we had there. But the big name at the front of the field wasn't a pro, it was the prime of Ilya Speaker, who brought home the first ever overall win outside of the top class of the field in the middle of the pack Racing League Series. Indeed, it's never happened before, but the Rockefeller Racing Gold driver putting in the gold class standard and bringing on home that infamous result. And in round number 4, what was meant to be at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit unfortunately didn't take place on the 4th of October due to unforeseen circumstances. So we wrapped up the Northern Cup after 3 rounds of racing, and now we make our way into our second Cup of the season. And well, speaking of our second Cup of the season, we kicked off the Central Cup on what was the 11th of October, the Red Bull Ring in Austria there, and we got to see the mixture of that long straight and also the sweeping corners on the latter half of lap really catch out many of our drivers there, but also some brilliant racing action to come through with it. And then we made our way last time out to Hungary for the one and only and appropriately named Hungarian circuit. And well, normally the host of Formula 1 and GT World Challenge, it was the host of our Radical SR8 V8 machines, and it did not disappoint, with a Hungarian Valley around Magurad definitely demonstrating demonstrated our drivers' nuance of batting and track position. And again, at the front of the field, it was a close, hard battle, but it was John Croom who came out on top in the end, running away, and then the battle for P2 could not be more intense, and that was on the 18th of October. But today, we are taking a look back at all the race action for the 25th of October, and after today, really as of tomorrow, on what will be Wednesday the 1st of November, we conclude the Central Cup with our first feature race round of the season, which is expected to take place, and that will be at the French circuit. The circuit does 24 Hours du Mans, but you all know and love it and refer to it as Le Mans, and our drivers will be taking on the infamous French circuit and looking to go toe-to-toe and surviving the circuit over what will be the best part of 45 minutes of racing. Now conclude our Central Cup, and then we'll have 4 rounds remaining after our mid-season break, and that will start with the Southern Cup, beginning with a Spanish triple header, round number 9 being at the circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya on the 15th of November. Then we make our way to the neighbouring Aragon circuit, also known as the Circuito de Alcañiz or Motorland Aragon, depending on your preference, and that will be on the 22nd of November. And then our final round of the racing in the Spanish country will be at the Circuito de Jerez for round number 11, our final sprint race round as well, on the 29th of November. And then we bring it all to a close with our final feature race round of the season, round 12 or 12 at the Autodromo Enzo di Dino Ferrari, but you know and love it and refer to it as Imola in reference to local township, and that will be on the 6th of December that we wrap things up just in time for Christmas. But as our drivers get set to go, we've still got a cracking calendar awaiting us, and let's give you a recap of the championship standings after 6 rounds of racing. Now, as we can see, we start off with the overall Pro Drivers' Championship, and this is for all 12 rounds. And it is James Logsdon who continues to lead the way, but his advantage, it's been reduced slightly to 3 points over Peter Lowe, with Logsdon seemingly off the pace at the Hungary and only imagine what was a 6th place finish in the end. Peter Lowe, meanwhile, closing the delta once again and continue to do so as the sister drivers from Team Bear Pope and Bear Pope Zero continue to battle their way for supremacy. But meanwhile in P3, it's a new name in P3. It's John Croom, who after taking his first win of the season last time out of the Hungary, we're looking to double up on that today in order to close the gap to the top 2. But you have Jason Landry hot on his heels behind in P4. That unfortunate error early on at the Hungary costing Landry very dear. We then have Jordan Butler P5 at 161 points, ahead of Milan Harris by 10, with Milan Harris ahead of Jake Gertson by 4 points, and it's Aaron Lyle, Logan McKenzie and Tanner Dibble who complete the top 10. But look there, best the rest P11 at Mika Hendricks only 6 points behind, and Franz Washing in P12 to wrap up the standings. We then come to the Prime class, and here we can see it's Ilya Speaker who continues to lead the way by 20 points, and those of you who are keen-eyed, you'll know that's a reduced margin. The fact that Speaker had a disastrous day at the Hungary and a rare blip in what has been absolutely infallible form, and that meant that John Lauzon was able to come on through and take victory last time out, and he's closed the gap down, albeit it's still a sizable gap, but the key thing for John Lauzon is he started to chip away at it. But behind the AlphaTauri Change Silver driver is Mike J. Young, who moves into P3 ahead of Charles Hulsey, with Avon Dorsey at P5 on 102 points, only 2 clear of Adam J. Ballard. We now have Jermaine Warren, Jay DeVries, Dustin Tosviers, and Keith Wilfred completed the top 10. And note there's still the battle between P7 and P10, standing at a margin of what is only 9 points. And the battle from Warren through to Wilfred could not be closer, with Lee Porter best dressed in P11 on 44 points, 3 clear of Sammy Hendricks. We then come to the AM class, and here we can see it's Samuel Bernardi who leads the way by only 5 points over J.R. Davis. But with Bernardi picking up his second win of the season at last time out the Hungary, you could argue now the favourite going into this season is finally finding his form, and therefore it does look as though he's trying to take his favourite status back. However, let's not count out and be unfair to the likes of Davis, who in P2 right now has earned the right to be hounding down Bernardi, and the same could be said for the likes of Kevin Manning in P3 on 111 points. We then do have a 20-point gap to Jesse Jamison Jr. as he continues to fight hard for that 4th place position ahead of Glenn Bratton and Tim Chong, with Mark Senegal P7 now only 3 points clear of Dan Vitchuk, and then Nicholas Vella and David Turn complete your top 10, but it's only outside the top 10 by what is result count back for James Kingsbury, who best dressed in P11 will be eager to take on Turn and move back into the top 10 tonight, as will Roger Gadesh, who's only a 4 points further behind. And then we have Nick Bader, Ian Hennebury, Billman DaCosta, Nick Yakubov, Stefan Shalafu and Braden Melling, who complete the standings there of drivers who've got points against their name, and we're waiting to see a debut from Doug Palmer to get some points against his name in the championship. We then come on to the Central Cup standings, and of course keep in mind these points are now adjusted for the finishing positions in the last 2 rounds. In these rounds at 5 and 6, the only Central Cup rounds that are played out so far. And here we can see in the Pro Central Cup standings, it's John Croom who leads the way by a single point over Jason Landry, and it could not be closer at the top. But that would be unfair not to also include Peter Lowe or James Logsdon in that mix, and as you can see, the top 4 there being separated by only 6 points, and indeed it's anybody's game. Aaron Lyle, meanwhile, in P5 leads the rest of the field in the pursuit of the top 4, He's only 1 point clear of Jordan Butler, who in turn is ahead of Milan Harris based on result countback, and it's a further point to Tanner Dibble and a further point still to Jake Gertson. With that top 9 right now, only separated by a grand total of 24 points, and it only takes one set of results in order to swing things about there for the top 9. With Logan McKenzie, Ian P10 on 36 points, now a bit of an outsider and looking to try and get back into the hunt. But then we come to the Pro Am Central Cup stands, and it's John Lauzon who leads the way by 2 points, eager to try and take a crown off of Ilya Speaker, even if it's just the Cup and not the overall championship, but he'll want to do so, and Ilya Speaker 2 points behind, and how that result last week has cost Speaker dear when he was looking to break away. Keith Wilfred, meanwhile, a further, 16 points behind. It does look to be a battle of 2 horses, but Keith Wilfred right now trying to lead the way for P3 ahead of Avon Dorsey, with Jermaine Warren completed the top 5 there, and he's got a 15-point advantage over Charles Holsey, with Mike J. Young and Lee Porter completing the standings of drivers who've got points against their name, and Adam J. Ballard yet to score any points. And then lastly comes the AM standings for the Central Cup, and Samuel Bernardi with a 7-point advantage is starting to carve success at the top, with J.R. Davies meanwhile 7 points behind there, and it does look as though Davies started to fall back into the clutches of Kevin Manning, who's a further 4 behind. Glenn Bratton holding on to P4 at the moment, with results going his way in the first 2 rounds of the Central Cup. He has a sizable 16-point advantage over Tim Chong, with Jesse Jefferson Jr. outside the top 5 there by a further 8 points, but he's 1 clear of Roger Ganesh, and it's Ian Pennebury a further point behind Ian P8, and then Mark Senegal, who completes the standings there in P9 on 20 points. But then we come on to the Teams Championship, and this is for the overall championship, so the entire season. And as we can see, Rockefeller Racing Gold are leading the way by a growing margin, now 449 points to 310 of Reverse Good Racing, and it does look as though Rockefeller Racing Gold, if they keep up this momentum, may just be able to clear their way away. They could take the championship crown early in what will be the Southern Cup. However, Reverse Good Racing are not going to let them go, but they'll need to be careful of the fact they've got Bear Pope Zero and DNA Motorsports, both only 9 points behind, and it's Bear Pope Zero ahead in P3 based on result countback versus the DNA Motorsport rival. Meanwhile, Rockefeller Racing Green at P5, a further 11 points off of the top 4. They'll be looking to hold on versus Team Bear Pope, who are 3 behind them, with Sunday GT Turtles also nipping at the heels of Bear Pope and only a point off, and Rockefeller Racing Red in P8 a further point still. So it's absolutely brilliant to see how we have P2 through to P8. They're separated by the best part of 35 points. In fact, it's 25 points when we do our mathematics correctly, and it's anybody's game to be the #1 contender to try and chase down Rockefeller Racing Gold at this point in time. Alvatorian Change Silver, meanwhile, P9 on 235 points. They're 50 points off of the major battle inside the top 10, and they're still clear of Photon Clan for the time being, who in P10 on 214 hold a slender 3-point advantage over Best Rest Alvatorian Change Gold in P11. And then we have Slipstream Sloths, P12, head of Flavour Station Racing and Middle of the Pack Racing complete the standings. But now let's come on to our circuit for today, and it's none other than the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit in Germany, of which our drivers will be taken on the Grand Prix layout. Located at the Amat Motordrome in the region of Hockenheim in the state of Baden-Württemberg in Germany. This is a circuit, as you can see from the circuit map drivers by iRacing.com. Thank you to them for their wonderful simulator, and the brilliant track maps that come with it is a circuit which is fast flying, but it's also highly technical in nature. And when you think of the Hockenheimring, particularly if you're a veteran of motorsport, you'll be thinking of the run into local forest. Well, unfortunately, that forest no longer available. Indeed, the road racing surface out there designed to be not maintained, and instead has now been grown over by forestry, and therefore our drivers will be now taken on the Hermann Tilke permanent circuit. But as they do, they've got 16 corners and plenty to enjoy as they charge away across the start-finish line and into Nord Curve at turn number 1. Through the sharp right-hander they'll go, looking to be careful to hit that apex curve too hard, as it will send the car wide on understeer, but if they get it right, they'll sweep the way through and carry all the speed up towards the Erfurt Parabolica at turns 2 and 3. But as they come through the hairpin and sweep the way through 4, it's a flat-out charge through the Parabolica curve at turn number 5 and up towards the Spitzkehrer hairpin at turn number 6. The heaviest braking zone on the circuit and the lowest speed corner on the circuit is a complete 180-degree reversal as our drivers make the way on through there, and we're expecting 2, 3, perhaps even 4 wide at the best of times through the hairpin, and as they emerge, it's the run into the first arena section, the Mercedes Arena at turns 7, 8, 9 and 10. 7 being a sweeping right-hander, which we flat out into a battling braking zone at turn number 8, and as our drivers make the way for the left-hand right-angle corner, they'll then have the switchback at turns 9 and 10 before they make the way into the short back straight and up towards the stadium section of turns 11 through to 15. And into the Mobile 1 curve, it's going to be all about bravery on the brakes there. Drivers could go too wide, but it's a tight apex and not plenty much runoff area there on the exit. But get it right, they'll carry the speed up into the camber turn 12 hairpin at turn number 12. And as they go onto the brakes, they'll sweep the way through the corner and then through at the left into right at turns 13 and 14 before the double right at turns 15 and 16 through the Sud curve to complete lap and start it all over again. But do keep in mind the elevation change here, very limited indeed. And therefore what is a relatively flat circuit, well, when we do see elevation change, it will will normally be because the drivers hit a curb or two. But as we get ready to go racing, let's give you a quick reminder of the rules. Setup-wise, drivers shall run a fixed setup as provided by the Middle of the Pack Racing League administration prior to each round. Car fuel loads are restricted to 46%, which means for the sprint races, we're not expecting any pit stops whatsoever. Qualifying-wise, an open qualifying format shall be used lasting 15 minutes as split into two equal halves. The AM class taken to the circuit for the first half, and the Pro-Am and Pro classes jointly taken to the circuit for the second half. And sprint race-wise, the race will start by a double-file rolling start with the formation being held up to the green flag, with each driver having one fast repair available should they receive a few bumps or scrapes, and the driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 18 or more instant points. Now, if we do have a major incident at the start of the race on the open lap, a safety car may be deployed at the discretion of the Middle of the Pack Racing League administrators, but otherwise there'll be no safety car deployed at any point during the race, and that way the race keeps on flowing. But that's enough rules, regulation, everything between, ladies and gentlemen. Indeed, we're all here for the race in action, and well, let's take a look as our drivers are making their way on around right now. They've only got a minute left of this practice warm-up session. We are running a couple of minutes behind schedule, but you'll forgive us in the fact that we're only minutes away from going into qualifying. And as we do, Milan Harris making his way on through turn number 12 and looking deadly fast today is the Rockefeller Racing Gold driver, albeit equally matched versus John Croom. So it could be a day-to-day of Harris versus Croom at the front of the field, with Peter Lowe not too far off. But meanwhile, we do say hello there in the Twitch chat to Valma 4, who says hello and good evening to you, Valma 4. It's been some time since I've seen you in the chat. I hope you're doing well, my friend. And we also say hello in the YouTube chat there to Jerry, the race car driver. Good evening to you, Jerry. I hope you're doing well, and there's a big smile on your face. And well, as we see Harris making his way on down towards turn at number 2, we'll place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Qualifying is not too far away, and I can tell you one thing right now, given the relative pace we've seen in this Central Cup so far, it seems like the Central Cup has really turned the dynamic of the racing up to 11 in terms of intensity, and who is going to be the one who delivers today? That will be the challenge. We're going to step away for approximately 30 seconds and transition into qualifying. When we're back, we're going to be seeing our drivers trying to set the best possible laps, and track position could be vital to success, but let's find out how it goes. We'll see you very shortly. And we are back immediately, ladies and gentlemen, for qualifying. 15 minutes, and it all starts off with our AM drivers making their way out onto circuit. And, well, without further ado, Samuel Bernardi, the first driver to make his way out of the pit lane. And as he does, just to explain for the uninitiated why we do have to step away briefly as we transition from practice to qualifying, it is because we are looking back at the iRacing replay file as provided by the Middle of the Pack Racing League administrators. And thank you to them, as always, for making sure we have all the replay footage available, so that way we can bring you these broadcasts. But it is the fact that every so often when we transition from practice to qualified, we can have a rare error whereby as we make that transition, all the qualified times set at the end of the qualified session suddenly appear on the timing tower on the left hand side of the screen, and we never want that to happen because that's full of spoilers, and we never want spoilers. The only spoilers we want are on the back of these fine British radical motorsport machines. 3.7 litres of V8 power rest there, and the best part of 400 horsepower being delivered over the course of what is a 520 kilogram chassis, indeed as light as they come. And when you put the driver and fuel in, it's approximately 600 kilograms, so these machines are an absolute beast to handle. And we can see that from Samuel Bernardi right now as he makes his way into Mobile 1 curve at turn number 11, and coming through the right-hander, getting himself set up here, the Rockefeller Racing red driver for the first qualifying lap of the session. But as all of our drivers gradually get themselves set, we do have a couple still in the pit lane from the AM class, including Billman da Costa. Also, oh goodness me, what on earth has gone wrong there for one of our drivers? That, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken, is the 237. And being Henneberry getting a little bit of oversteer there on the exit at turn number 10. I think running wide and into the V-shaped depression on the exit curve, and the car being sent around accordingly. He brings it back together and gets himself up to speed here, but his tyres are definitely going to feel quite scorched in terms of that slide, and therefore he could have a flat spot or two, and that is going to hurt Henneberry at the start of this qualifying session as he makes his way in towards turn number 15 and gets himself set up for success on his first flying lap, albeit he may have to be a little bit gentle with the car on this first lap, given the fact those tyres are definitely going to feel a lot hotter than perhaps he anticipated as part of his warm-up lap procedure. As he makes his way on towards turn at number 1 then, and going through Nord Curve immediately, or North Curve if you translate the German directly into English. And as he makes his way up towards the Einfahrt Parabolica, well, we do briefly lose him and have him rematerialise from the internet ether. Some connectivity issues there potentially for Henneberry. Hopefully they're not a sign of something to come. Meanwhile, we do look here to Tim Chong as he makes his way in towards turn number 12 here, and going on through while the last tries to go on to a flying lap out on circuit. Nick Yakubov a little bit more delayed by comparison, but James Kingsbury still in the pit lane at the moment. So it's gone very well for Kingsbury. The same for Bill with Da Costa faster as well. But as Sean makes his way out to the final corner here, runs a little bit wide, a bit too wide there, has to catch the car just in time, and will Chong just taking that exit curve a little bit too much on the state of the car. And as he makes well to his first flying lap, that definitely could have been far worse. That could have been tears early on, but it wasn't to be. But right now, I can tell you one thing, while Samuel Bernardi was looking fast initially on his lap as he makes his way around, we've got a driver going purple here out of the initial sectors being set, and that is Sunday GT Turtles Mark Senegal as he makes his way through turn number 11 in towards 12. As he comes into the braking zone, well, Bernardi's going to set the pace at a 34.523. But I wouldn't be surprised here if we do see the 227 from Sunday GT Turtles and Cynical go even faster as he makes his way through the suit curve here, going through turns 15 and 16 to complete his lap. He's having a little bit of twitch understeer there coming out of 15. I think the dirty air off of the car in front just upsetting the balance of the car. That's Bratton in front, but Cynical in the end 1 second off, and I think the last Porsche lap really compromised by comparison, and therefore he's got a lot more to do as Ian Hennebrink goes P2 there, half a second off of Bernardi's time. So Bernardi putting a high bar in. Can anybody respond? That would be the big question that's on everyone's lips. As meanwhile, we look to Jesse Jamison Jr. as he makes his way through turns 15 into 16. And going on through the corner there and on towards the end of his first line. That was it going to be for the number 231 driver. It's going to be P4. It's 1.5 seconds off of Bernardi's pole time. It's a 35.982. Not too bad lap to set himself up for success, but keeping in mind he will be looking to try and go a bit faster in his battle with Senegal and Hennebrink inside the championship. As he comes down towards turn number 2, we say hello in the YouTube chat there to Jeeves ACBC, who says, yo, ready for an awesome race. I'm very happy to hear that, Jeeves. And well, I would ask Jeeves how you feeling, but you've already, I think, indicated that you're feeling absolutely brilliant, and I hope you've had a great day, good sir. But as I try to make the way on through, Tim Chong meanwhile goes P4 there on his first lap, 1 second off of Bernardi's side. But look at that between Chong and Senegal. The battle for P3 there, qualified separated by only half a tenth if that, and therefore these two really pushing each other hard. I think Chong pushing a bit too hard there as he comes through turn number 4. But as he does so, we do look to Nick Yakubov, who crosses the line. He'll put a lap on the board. It's good up for P6. His first fly lap, 2 seconds over the pole time set by Bernardi. Now dropped down to a 34.326. So Bernardi really pushing on here, but meanwhile Mark Senegal coming on through the final corner. And as he does so, can he find a bit more time this time around? Well, here's Bratton who goes P3, and Senegal cannot find a response there. So Senegal push back to P4 right now. And as they made the way through turn number 1, well, these two keeping each other honest. Ian Hennebrink improves, brings the delta to Bernardi down to what is just over 4.5 tenths. So right now, the Bearpoke driver here started to make some ingress versus the Rockefeller Racing red drive for pole position. But still, that ingress not enough to really put a dent into Bernardi. And I think Bernardi right now will feel as though he can smile a little bit more, and the pressure is starting to be alleviated. But then look at this man, Jesse Jamison Jr. coming out of nowhere with 34.595, and he's not to be underestimated. That's the one thing we've seen all year long from Jamison Jr. He has this knack to really surprise people in qualified with late laps where he's able to get himself inside that top 3, and we're having a bit of a drift there through turn number 2, a bit too much speed on the downshift, and we'll catch the car nicely, but Jamison hurried to get the car off the road there, and now get himself back up to speed as soon as possible, just getting himself reorientated and back on the run he goes. But meanwhile, we look from here back to your current pole sitter as he heads in towards the final 2 corners. This is Samuel Bernardi. Well, I think it's only appropriate, ladies and gentlemen, as he makes his way through the final corner. We're going to ride on board here with the 212 driver as he takes us around from the final fly lap he'll deliver in this qualified session. He's making his way to turn number 1 and brake at the 54 there, down a 4th gear, quick downshift and chuck the car in. And as he makes his way up towards turn number 2, powering all the way up towards the braking zone and braking at the 100 meter board all the way down from 6th gear down to 2nd, and now making his way up through back of the throttle, smooth throttle application as he returns to full throttle through turn number 4 and now flat out through Parabolica as he heads down towards turn number 5. He gets a nice long breather here, keep the car nice and tight to the apex, shorten the run down towards turn number 6, heading upwards of 150 miles an hour here as he heads towards the braking zone, and on the left hand side here we brake at the 100 meter board all the way down the gearbox in rapid fire down to 1st gear. Now the corner he goes, and now up towards turn number 7. Now we'll see go from flying corners here. The average apex speed is going to descend rapidly as he comes into the Mercedes arena through 7 flat out. Keep it over to the right for turn number 8. No real brake markers here, but braking at the escape road about 80 metres from corner apex. 2nd gear as he snatches his way through turns 9 into 10. Bring the car to the left and free through to the right, lift off the throttle so as not to carry too much speed onto the exit curve at 10. Now going up towards 11 here, close to the wall, turn on in, lift off the throttle, drop a gear, and as he makes his way on through, now up towards turn number 12, and braking will be the 50 metre will use the camera of the road to push the car through the corner, gets a nice late apex, he makes his way on through, and now in towards turns 13 and 14, through left into right, and onto the race into Sud curve he goes, through turn number 15, and out towards 60 now, open up the corner, then turn on in, third gear all the way through, drift the car there as he keeps it just with track limits. It's a nice lap from Bernardi. Can he go even faster? He can. It's a 33.793, and that puts him 8 tenths clear of what anybody else has been able to achieve. I think this could be Bernardi's pole position, guaranteed at this point, unless anybody can pull some surprises, as this qualifying session does now transition into its second half. So the AM drivers will complete their final laps and coming in. Yakubov goes P7 still on a 35.0805. Meanwhile, it's a run wide there from Bratton. He gets it wrong right at the end. Mark Senegal taking the base of manoeuvres, moves into P5, but Bratton just loses it out. And Senegal with 35.018, not quite on the front two rows of the AM class. And then Henry returns to P3 on a 34.617. So very closely in that battle for the second place spot. Jesse Jefferson Jr. I should say, taking that accolade, but in the end, Samuel Bernardi in a world of his own when it came to qualify for pole position in the AM class. It would seem that 33.793, I suspect, could be good enough to even put him inside the top 10. But we'll have to wait and see now, as it is the Pro and Prime qualifying session. 7.5 minutes here for these guys. And keep in mind, they have had a slightly reduced qualifying session, because by the time they leave the pit lane, once the AMs have gone through to go to their final qualifying laps, it's only then that the pros and the primes are allowed to leave the pits. But the circuit has been warmed up for them, so therefore they do have that accolade in effect. And as they make the way in towards turn number 1, we're looking at Aaron Lahr hitting the lime green mean machine as he makes his way through 1 and down towards 2. And from him to Jake Gertson a little bit further up there in the reverse grid racing a pink driver here in the number 16. I think he'll be feeling as though this is time to shine. He really has been one of those drivers who's continued to go from strength to strength in the pro class this season. And as he makes his way up towards turn number 6, can he pull some more surprises today? We'll have to wait and see as he makes his way through, but as he does so, you can see on the right hand side of your screen there, with regards to weather conditions today, 26 degrees centigrade ambient, 29 degrees centigrade track temperature, so it's quite a nice circuit here in terms of those conditions, not too warm, not too cold, so therefore these lap times will be quite comfortable and they'll come on fast. The tyres will light up nice and quickly, and therefore by the time they got to the second flying lap, they should be able to push quite aggressively. But as we do close the weather on down there and focus more on the driving, the key thing to note here is the fact that whereas in the AM class qualifying session most of our drivers look to try and get some space for one another and just try to deliver their laps without a tow, meanwhile in this session you can definitely see already how Gertson is trying to tuck into the back with the reverse grid racing a green machine of, I do believe that is the 142, and that will be Avon Dorsey. And right now Dorsey has definitely got somebody riding high in his rear end and trying to pick up as much tow as possible is Gertson as he makes his way through 14 into 15. And the whole idea behind this is that he gains a bit more speed on the straights, particularly in the first half of lap, but of course he's got still that dirty air and it can cost him his lines. They make the way towards the timeline. We'll see those first laps coming in. Gertson does go P3 at 34.117, but meanwhile Milan Harris, well, he's been in the draft there of none other than the 106, and the 106 being Ilya Speaker, your Prime Championship leader. And Harris right now are really using the tow there, plus also his own nuance of the circuit in order to put together a phenomenal opening lap, and that's regional pole overall with a 33.632. We suspect the pole time is going to be sub 33.5 today. We could be looking as low as 33.2s come the end of this qualifying session when the fuel comes out the car and the track and the tyres are fully rubbered in. But we'll have to wait and see what happens in practice here. Again, we've had some surprises over the course of the season, but the qualifying times have been faster or is sometimes slower compared to what's expected, given that the relative versus the practice sessions earlier on in the week of racing. As Harris makes his way down here into the Mercedes arena, the key point being right now he has definitely got the setup right in terms of where he's positioned himself in qualifying and working with Speaker. It's all looking successful so far, but meanwhile we look to John Lauzon, who in turn is only a 10th off of Ilya Speaker right now in the battle for prime pole. I do keep in mind our drivers only score points for overall position when they go racing, the exception being there are bonus points for the podium finishers in the prime and AM classes, so it's 3 for the win, 2 for second and 1 for third. But the point being, you really do want to qualify as high as humanly possible on the grid, because every place you can take overall, regardless of who you battle, it's worth extra points at the end of the day. away. Then you have the bonus points factored in. But Logsdon there getting it a little bit wrong on the braking code. It's 12 a lock up there on the right-hand side front brake. And as a result, cost him quite a bit of run. That's going to cost him at least 2 attempts on the run through 12. Recovers it nicely, but still the damage is done. More times tumbling on in. Now we're into the 33.2s with Butler there taking provisional pole. But as Logsdon comes to the line, he goes P6. 9 has plenty more time in that after he hadn't made that mistake. But again, it's fine margins here. And Logsdon up right now 9. Those margins could not be closer. Speaker did not improve as much as Logsdon, interestingly enough. So Speaker right now in P2 in the class order. What is there? 700ths of. So the roles have been reversed. But meanwhile, it's the DNA Motorsports car of Jordan Butler that we see right at the top of the standing sheet. This is the first time this season we've seen Butler in provisional pole right now. He's not normally been on the base, but that's not to his discredit. Indeed, he might be going a bit stronger here at the Hockenheimring. Some drivers really love this circuit, others not big fans of it. Indeed, that's what happened in Formula 1 when it was unveiled in 2002. There were a number who absolutely loathed the idea of racing at the circuit, whereas others wanted to give it a good try. But right now, has become one of those circuits in modern times which has become a bit more popular as racing has taken place at the circuit in the best part of which 21 years. And as we do see Butler making his way through turn number 10, get a bit too close to the back of Aaron Lahr there, costing him a bit of a run into what was turn number 11, and that may just start to haunt him a little bit that he's getting closer and closer to a driver who's not quite in the same pace in this qualified session. And Lahr goes very deep under braking. Oh, I think right now Butler may be in the wrong place. He backs off immediately here, trying to give himself some space, but also letting other drivers on through. Speaking of which, he lets Peter Lowe go through there, and as the number 11 driver makes his way through the right-hander at turn number 16, well, he's got to go into his final flying lap, and as he does so, well, can he go further? Because Milan Harris now leaps up to the top. Peter Lowe goes pole with 33.051. Can anybody break into the 32s? That's the big question, as Lowe's time is only 6 thousandths faster than Harris here. It's as close as you dare to dream to believe it will be. This is the closest qualified session from pole position we've seen all season so far, and that's saying so given how close it has been. But right now, Ilya Speaker in the Pro Class P6 overall has reasserted a little bit of authority only by in return at 700s over John Logsdon. It seems those 700s is the theme between the two of them today, but Speaker gets it wrong out of turn number 6. It's into the wall, and for Speaker, that qualifying session will come to an abrupt end. And could this be an opportunity for Logsdon to take pole position in the class, or will he not be able to make that final hurdle? That will be the challenge. But meanwhile, Eamon Dorsey here not making the same mistake as his sister Rockefeller Racing driver did. As he comes on through turns 9 and 10, he'll be looking to try and keep it calm and collected here as he makes way out of 10 up towards 11. You can see that V-shaped depression in the curve. It launches the car as you come out of 10. If you go too wide, then that's what they've got to be careful of, and that's why we saw the spin for Ian Hennebury on his warm-up lap in the AM-class qualifying session. But checker flag is out, so as the drives come through this time, it's their final lap on the board, and can anybody pull some last-minute surprises? Well, Harris will be the first to come through, but this has not been improved. With that Harris there as he comes out the final corner, a bit of a slow run, a bit of a compromise run, and that's not going to give him any favours. Meanwhile, Croom comes on through, does not improve. What about Eamon Dorsey? Dorsey leaps up to P7 there. Jake Gertson goes P3. More to come through. Jason Landry will be the last driver to make his way on the round, and Peter Lowe's got purple in what is the middle sector, but I believe he's not been able to improve overall. Logsdon's moved up to P9. Here comes Landry, however. He's leaving it late in the day. He's P10. He moves to P7, but Jason Landry with a 33.400. That is going to put him into his lowest qualifying position of the season so far, albeit it's a top 7 of pros. It's Peter Lowe who takes pole position here on a 33.051, subject to confirmation with regards to track limits on those laps when we go to the grid. So Lowe will be on pole, then it will be in the Pro-Am class for his first pole position of the season. Eamon Dorsey P8 overall, and then in the Am class, just missing out in the top 10 but starting P11, it will be your pole sitter Samuel Bernardi, and well, some favourites up there to be certain. But right now, as we get ready to go, I can see a little bit of an unhappy face in the YouTube chat from Peter Lowe saying about track limits. So I suspect this lap may not stand, and if so, that could mean that Milan Harris is going to be your pole sitter in the Pro Class, and overall, we'll have to wait and see. But either way, I can tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen, they're this close with the top 5 separated by 2.5 tenths. When we go green flag racing, that is negligible, and indeed, it could mean that right now, anybody inside that top 5, indeed, anybody inside that top 10 as a minimum, with only 6 tenths between the top 10, could be your winner today, depending on how that race starts. But as we do see Peter Lowe just cooling down here, the only driver out of the circuit right now, he gets himself comfortably set, and we are in for an absolute thriller of a race here at the Hockenheimring, and it's coming up only moments away. as Peter Lowe makes his way into the pit lane. He knows that the task is ahead of him here. It is going to be a close one, and Lowe will be looking for a win on the cards. But as he makes his way onto limiter, he transitions now to the grid, and all the drivers getting themselves set here in Germany. And this is how they're going to line up for the 7th round of the season. So as our drivers get ready to go racing at the Hockenheimring in the 3rd sprint race of the Central Cup, it is Milan Harris who takes pole position for Rockefeller Racing Gold, in the end ahead of Jake Gertsen by 2 tenths or thereabouts ahead of the reverse grid racing driver. Behind them on row number 2, it will be Jordan Butler for DNA Motorsports, who's ahead of Peter Lowe in the end for Bear Pope 0. We thought he may have had pole, but Lowe in the end having to settle for P4 due to track limits. John Croom, we started P5 on your 3rd row of the grid for what will be at Rockefeller Racing Gold. Alongside John Croom will be Tanner Dill for DNA Motorsports, and then on row number 4 it'll be Jason Landry for Sunday GT Turtles, and he'll have the company of the maiden pole sitter in the prime class of Avon Dorsey for Rockefeller Racing Green. Congratulations to Dorsey for taking his first pole position in the class today. Ilya Speaker starts P9 for Rockefeller Racing Gold and joined on the 5th row to complete the top 10. He has championship rival John Lauzon for Alpha Touring Change Silver. And then behind them, starting at P11, it's Samuel Bernardi for Rockefeller Racing Red and pole sitter, ahead of Aaron Lahr, who starts P12 the privateer. We then have on row at number 7 starting P13 at Charles Hosey for Rockefeller Racing Green. He has the company of sister team driver from Rockefeller Racing Red of Keith Wilfred, who starts P14. On row number 8, it's the Ampere of Jesse Jameson Jr. for Photan Clan and Bear Pope Zero's Ian Henneberry, with row number 9 going to Tim Chong from Slipstream Sloths and Mark Senegal for Sunday's GT Turtles. And then to complete your top 20, it's Glenn Bratton, the privateer, and Nick Jakubov of Slipstream Sloths. Now on row number 11, starting P21, it's Francois Schink for Alpha Touring Change Silver. He has the company of Lee Porter on the 11th row for middle of the pack. And then on row number 12, it will be Billman DaCosta for Bear Pope Zero and Photan Clan's Kevin Manning. And on the final row of the grid, Roger Ganesh for Sunday GT Turtles and James Kingsbury for Flavour Stacia Racing. But I can tell you that Francois Schink and Billman DaCosta have not taken to the grid, ladies and gentlemen, so we may only have 24 starters here. We'll have to wait and see who emerges from the pit lane. But as our drivers get underway with a partial formation lap, when it's a short run to turn number 1, and Milan Harris will know that as Jake Gertsen immediately on the inside there coming through turn number 12. Gertsen really trying to get in the head, but Harris will have the inside when we go green flag racing across that start finish line. 30 minutes of racing awaits us, ladies and gentlemen. We have 2 drivers who've never shared the front row before. Jake Gertsen with his best qualifying performance of the season starts on that front row, and can Gertsen or Harris pull off the win today and take their first win of the season? Well, let's find out with 30 minutes of racing here at the Hockenheimring, Baden-Württemberg. And it's lights out and away we go as Harris leads the field into turn number 1. But look at Gertsen and looking around the outside. Onto the brakes they go, but who's going to be the braver of the 2 of them? Behind, it's all getting immediately very close comfort as Harris goes round. Harris is into a spin and it's contact, huge contact, as we do see multiple cars into the scene of the incident, including Tim Chong, also Ilya Speaker, and I believe Kevin Manning as well. But with the drama that's kicked off there, meanwhile, out of it all, it does mean that Jake Gertsen holds onto the lead after battling hard for it through the opening corner. But still more to come, as we do have a safety car immediately on display here. All the drivers trying to pick their position on the field, but a huge incident. You can see the yellow caution there already on screen, so it does mean we do have a safety car deployed, ladies and gentlemen, and it has been an absolutely dramatic start to the racing, albeit I do believe that right now our drivers are allowed to race up to what will be the start finish line to pick up the safety car, so therefore we're not quite under safety car conditions at the moment, and Gertsen and Peter Lowe, knowing that, are battling hard already as they make the way up towards turn number 8 into Mercedes Arena. I think everyone else has been caught out by the sign announcement of the safety car, but as they make the way through turn number 8 into 9-10, Gertsen right now holding off Low as they make the way through. Meanwhile, further behind, we have had Samuel Bernardi lose the place to Jesse Jameson Jr. as he comes on through what is the Mercedes Arena. Joseph Jr. getting the move done earlier on in the race, and Ian Henneberry losing out and having to now pick up the pieces. He passes Roger Ganesh off camera and is chasing down Mark Senegal, but as they make the way in towards the stadium section here, we do have the safety car deployed and we will be under safety car pace conditions come at the exit of this lap and onto lap number 2. But my goodness, you could not make up how this race has started. The field will be starting to slow down now. We've got multiple wounded cars out there, including the car of Manning and also Speaker. as they come on through. But now as we look to the leaders here, the safety car will await them, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen, and Jake Gertsen for Rest Good Racing will now back the field up behind the safety car. Everybody will cool off, and it is a huge instant there as they make the way up towards turn number 2. But as they cool down now, I think everybody will be feeling as though it has been a dramatic start. There's been no question about it, and will, as they make the way through and in towards what will be the second lap of racing around here, albeit we won't quite have racing per se, where everyone right now I think will just be getting comfortable and starting to feel as though it's just time to take it easy and get themselves set once again before we go into race conditions in at least a lap, if not 2 laps time. Indeed, I think the automated safety car in iRacing does mandate that we have to spend at least 2 laps behind the safety car, so therefore we will be taking a bit of a breather here in terms of that racing action. But when we do return to the racing, where you can be certain of one thing, and it is going to be a dramatic return with a lot less race time available, and therefore it will be an opportunity for our drivers to really start to push the cars to the absolute limit. But a huge smash through turn number 1 there, and well, just to give you a reminder, in terms of drivers who were caught up in that contact, it was your pole position driver of what was Milan Harris, who had that disastrous turn through the corner, and unfortunately we can't quite get you a replay of it due to limitations of looking back at an iRacing replay file. But it was Milan Harris who lost the rear of the car and into the scene the instant as the wayward car made its way around on circuit. We did see the likes of what was Tim Chong, also Glenn Bratton coming to the scene, Nick Yakubov, Ilya Speaker and Kevin Manning, and well, multiple cars with major damage, and Glenn Bratton and John Lauzon having to be towed to the pits, and in doing so there, Nick Yakubov also being towed to pits, James Kingsbury as well. But then everybody else who was in that instant having to drive the way on through. But we are under safety car conditions here, and to take you through that order in terms of the biggest gainers and the biggest losers at the start of this race, you can see on the left hand side of the screen the graphic now demonstrating on the time tower. Jake Gertsen in the lead as he makes his way up towards what will be turn number 11. Meanwhile, Peter Lowe just behind. Peter Lowe gaining 2 places and just leaping ahead John Butler when the safety car came out, as Jeeves ACBC lets us know they're in at the YouTube chat very close to them. And meanwhile as well, a bit further down the order, Keith Wilfred moving up what was the best part of 4 places overall, 2 in class, much like Charles Halsey as he got himself underway. And keep in mind with Ilya Speaker being out of the race early in terms of being put all the way to the back of the field and having to have repair work done on the car and playing the game of catch up. Indeed, he's already at the back of this field. What it does mean is this is a huge opportunity today for somebody else to take a huge result in the Pro-Am class here, for Avon Dorsey right now taking his maiden pole position. Well, for Dorsey, for Ricovella Racing Green, this could really be what will catapult his championship campaign onto a high going into this second half of the season. And can the 142 driver get the job done here today, or will he feel as though there's a lot more work to do as Ian Hennebrys into the pits, I believe? And I think we've got multiple drivers into the pit lane here. Now, I'm not quite sure what's happened. I think that's for repair work on their cars, to be fair, because they make the way down. We also do have Milan Harris there with the crumpled rear wing of the Rockefeller Racing Gold car, so therefore just coming on down that pit lane. And as he does so, meanwhile, we do look to Charles Halsey as he makes his way past our cameraman as he comes through turn number 1. We're on to our second safety car lap. I suspect we may be going racing at the end of this lap, but we have got Harris, Speaker, Henneberry, Chong, Kingsbury, Lauzon, Bratton and Yakubov all in the pit lane taking repair work at the moment. I think for Lauzon, Bratton and Yakubov, they will be a lap down effectively as they are under the tow, and therefore they will be waiting for that tow time for the cars to be towed off circuit to the pit lane, and then they'll have the quick repair that's available to them and then go racing once again. But Milan Harris, the biggest loser at the start of this race of everybody in terms of places, 16 lost, and after taking that pole position, not able to convert it into a successful start. You've got to feel for the American for Rockefeller Racing Gold in what looked to be a golden opportunity right now, has gone from good to bad, disastrous as quickly as you can say, lights out and away we go. But as they make the way down the parabolic and up towards turn number 6, the drivers right now just taking it easy behind the safety car. And you may be wondering at this point, as we ride aboard with Bernardi for Rockefeller Racing Red, with these safety car conditions, what does this do to the car? Well, it does mean, well, the fact they're only going around here at very low speeds. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, they're going at speeds of no more in excess of about 47 miles an hour. In fact, at some points coming all the way down to 35, 38 miles an hour. This means that right now the cars are not generating tyre temperature. They're burning a little bit of fuel, but with a lack of tyre temperature, when they do go racing, it's almost as if they've restarted the race. They won't have much brake temperature either, so they go racing racing again in cars which definitely will need to be brought back up to racing condition, and with that it means that it's like dancing on ice for at least one lap after the safety car restart. But when we do get back up to speed, I can tell you one thing, when we have lost the best part of what is 4 minutes under the safety car already, we're going to lose about 5 minutes when we go green flag racing, but a reduced amount of race time in terms of when we're at maximum race pace. Now our drivers will be able to push a lot more, and if they're able to manage the tyres for that reheating phase, then they will feel very confident when they do have the tyres up to temperature that they don't need to look back. They can go full tilt and all in over the entirety of the remainder of the race. But as Bernardi looks to the rear, Jesse Jameson Jr. and Jr. will definitely be feeling as though it's going to be one of the situations whereby for Votan Clan he could look to bring home what would be his first win of the season. Well, can he do it given the ferociousness with Bernardi in terms of how he chases down wins? There's no doubts about it as they all make the way through. Well, we'll have to wait and see as they make their way in towards turn number 11, and we look to the front of the field here, and I think Jake Gertz has started to back himself off from the safety car. Can't quite see the safety car in camera shot, so we're not quite able to tell whether the lights have gone off of the safety car. I would presume they have as he makes his way on through here, and I think we may be getting ready for the restart. Indeed, Gertz is now back in the field up here, ladies and gentlemen. We're not too far away from the restart here, and when we go green flag racing, safety car lights are off, so it's the Gertz to take us away for the single file restart as he makes his way into Sud Curve. And it's lights down, away we go once again, but Gertsen not having the best of starts down the restart. As you can see, up the inside immediately goes Peter Lowe. Lowe all in for the lead here as they make their way through Nord Curve and gets it done initially, but now Gertsen on the return as they make their way down towards turn number 2. Gertsen looking up the inside here, covering off Jordan Butler at the same time behind Dibble versus Croom as they come in hot on the brakes into turn number 2. It's going to be Croom on the inside, Dibble on the outside. Now Dibble trying to switch it back to the inside through 4. They rub almost as they make their way through, in fact give just enough space, and as they come on down towards turn number 6 via the Parabolica, it's going to be a free wide battle as Jason Landry looks to get the overspeed. He's going to look up the inside of the Sunday GT Turtles driver, takes it slow and steady initially, but now going in decides to back off there, not wanting to try and take too much of a risk early on in this race. Behind them, Avon Dorsey looking up the inside of Aaron Lyle, goes on a move there for what would be for P7, can't quite make it count at the moment. He has got the inside into turn number 7, and as they come through the right hand very shortly, Dorsey having to back out there. He's not got the overlap, and he hasn't got the overspeed to go with it as they come through, but Dorsey making his intentions very clear, which is he wants more places, as right now it's Charles Hosey for company, his teammate right behind, and well, the two teammates surely won't want to impede one another, but they'll also both be looking for glory here, both looking for their first wins of the season, as Roger Ganesh out of position as he makes his way through turns 9 and 10, but meanwhile that's Jake Gertz who's looking the wrong way. It's a spin out of turn number 10. Was that of his own volition or was there contact? We're not sure, but the reverse grid racing driver pointing the wrong way after pushing so hard to try and take on Peter Lowe, but Gertsen's race now towards the back of the field. He's got it all to do once again as he brings himself back up to speed. Meanwhile, the same could be said for John Lazzolo, who's had a spin elsewhere on the circuit. He's had to return to the pit lane. As we look to Roger Ganesh right now really struggling with the car. It does not look to be a happy car for Sunday GT Turtles, and as he goes on to the next lap with 20 minutes to go here, the 229 driver now under pressure from Lee Porter and Tim Chong behind as they make the way onto what is lap number 5 as they head on through. Meanwhile, from them we look back to your leader here, Peter Lowe, and the Bear Pope Zero driver, where he's made his established lead count, and as he comes on through turn number 4, right now the Bear Pope Zero driver trying to break away, but Butler and Dibble and DNA Motorsport loving this circuit today. There's no doubt about it at Hockenheimring, in the fact that right now the two of them really pushing it on here, and I think Dibble is starting to grow some pace in the fact he's getting very close to the back of Butler already under the slipstream, to be fair, into turn number 6, but Dibble's pace right now is staggering as they come on through, and you see Butler, there's some power oversteer as he makes way out of turn number 6, not looking too comfortable in the car right now, and I wouldn't be surprised there's a potential swap between the two of them if Dibble gets much closer. In the fact I think he'll want to try and reel Lowe in before Lowe's able to break away, but as they make the way through Mercedes, and then again Butler might be able to get himself a bit more comfortable in the car as they head on through turns 9 and 10. If he can do so, then it may be the case that they stay as they are and both chase down the leader respectively. As they power the way on through our camera shot. Meanwhile, a bit further behind, Johnson Jr. still holding Bernardi at bay as they head in towards turn number 11. for the 5th time of asking, coming through the right hand, and the Votan Clan driver, he's caught up behind Keith Wilfred as they head onto the brakes, and as they come on through here, Milan Harris starting to look to surge his way back through the field. The 96 driver here is not going to become too dispassionate about the racing. He still does have 19 minutes plus the final lap to go, and he's P12 currently. He is within eyesight of the leaders right now. I'm not saying that Harris can win this, but he could definitely get back into that top 3 if all is said and done. If he makes these overtakes quickly in the toe there, Bernardi, as he crosses the line, and as he heads in towards Nord Curve once again, he's thinking about it, but Harris not close enough there to really adventure for a move. He wants to get it down to 2. That's the best place to go for it in these opening couple of corners, or really need to stay behind and look for it in towards turn number 6 if you've got the patience. Well, right now Harris has definitely not got the time to wait, and therefore the patience is not going to be with him as Bernardi out of sorts there. Harris looks at the cutback through 4, really trying to send everything at this, but right now Bernardi doing everything right as they power their way down. Meanwhile, looking here at John Croom versus Jason Landry. Croom on the left, Landry on the right as they break the way down to the Spitzkehrer hairpin, and it's going to be Croom there looking for the move for P4 on the inside. Landry meanwhile gets the better run from the outside, cuts it back, but I'm not quite sure if he's going to be able to get the run here in towards turn number 7. He's going to commit to it as they make the way side by side in. Landry does get ahead of Croom there, I think having to back out slightly. A poor line, it doesn't give him the confidence to carry the car's speed through, but meanwhile from them we look back here to Ilya Speaker, who's under some pressure, and Mark Senegal. Speaker trying to make some progress here, having passed Senegal into the turn 6 hairpin, and right now up to P13, gets the job done there for this move. His next target will be Samuel Bernardi, with Milan Harris making the move into the turn 6 hairpin in the end as they all come through turn number 11. As they charge their way in towards the stadium section. Meanwhile, we look to your leader here of Peter Lowe, and Butler still right there. 4 tenths is the gap between them. There's nothing in at the moment in terms of the fact both drivers have shown phenomenal pace, but as they make their way onto another lap after 6 laps of racing, it is Lowe ahead of Butler, followed by Dibble. Then it's going to be Landry in P4, followed by Croom P5, Lyle P6, then Prime leader Dorsey P7, head of Charles Holsey, then Keith Wilfred P9, and leader Jesse Johnson Jr. P10, Milan Harris P11 there as Harris to try and push his way on past Jameson. He can't quite find it at the moment. When I say push, it's proverbial in the fact that he's been caught up to by Bernardi, and you can see that Harris right now looking up the inside into turn number 2. Joseph Jr. gives him the space on the inside there, compromises his own line, and Joseph Jr.'s got to be careful here in the fact he only needs to make one error under this movement in terms of letting Harris go, and in doing so he'll push himself right back into the clutches Bernardi, as we're going to see Harris trying to go around the outside of 5 to the inside of 6 here. But look at Bernardi, he's going to try and make it 3 wide on the left of the picture, and as they come on down, Bernardi's going all in, or is he here as he starts to look to defend more versus Speaker, and in the end the 2 Rockefeller Racing drivers, 1 red, 1 gold. Speaker in the gold, meanwhile Bernardi in the red. They settle their differences and steer clear of one another, but Jameson Jr. with a poor run out of 6, going to have Bernardi is inside into 7, but now as they make the way in towards turn number 8, Jameson Jr. has the right to the inside line here into Mercedes corner, coming into left hand, it's going to be round the outside, a bit of apex curve there for Jameson Jr. That's not going to help on the sausage curve, and Bernardi takes the lead of the M class there in an absolutely brilliant piece of manoeuvring as they make the way in towards turn number 11. Now can Jameson Jr. come on back, or will we see Ilya Speaker potentially intervene here and buy his sister team driver a little bit of an opportunity to breathe? As they make the way down towards turn number 12, into left hand they go. Speaker close, but not quite close enough to go for the move yet. As we ride on board here with the 106 driver, and absolutely cutting as many curbs as he can here in order to try and stay close and go for the move, and see they're running him in the close toe here as he makes his way through turn number 16 and onwards towards the next lap. Half the race complete, another half of the race to go, and as they head up towards turn number 1, Speaker forward and back again. You can see on these tight sweepers there's just not enough speed to be carried through the corners in that dirty air. It just upsets the aero balance of the car and costs you a lot of time, but as they make the way in towards turn number 2, Speaker now will have a golden opportunity to look for an off move, as meanwhile Jason Jr. loses the rear of the car, and the car goes on round. Oh goodness me, and that's Mark Senegal who's clipped the rear, and it's got even worse. Jameson Jr. almost onto his roof there with contact with Roger Ganesh, I do believe, and Jameson Jr.'s race comes to an abrupt halt as he brings himself back to speed, but that'll be a severely wounded car. But meanwhile, a swap for the lead of the prime class here as Charles Holsey up the inside of Avon Dorsey, and the Rockefeller Racing green drivers, well, they're keeping it clean so far. As they make the way up towards turn 7, 8, I think a little bit of rivalry here isn't going to go amiss as they make the way in towards turn number 8. And the one thing, of course, when you're racing with your teammate, both of you want to get the upper hand on one another. I think Holsey right now starting to break away a little bit for Dorsey, and I think the relative pace of the two of them does have Holsey being the faster driver here as we make our way into the second stage of this race as they make the way in towards turn number 11. But as they come on through the right-hander, meanwhile looking from them to 2 drivers who are arguably a lap down the field. But right now, you wouldn't think that way the way they're battling one another. It's Slipstream Sloss and Nick Yakubov who's trying to find a way for P9 in the AM class, or P21 overall, well in fact P20 overall I should say, versus Glenn Bratton, that's P8 in the AM class. As we correct ourselves, they make the way into the stadium section, and these two, they've had a dismal start to the race, but they're not going to end it on a dismal note. They're going to enjoy this little battle between them as they make the way on around turn number 12 and in towards 13 and 14. Yakubov does seem to have the upper hand here on pace, but the key point being here, it's one thing to catch, it's another thing to pass, as the late great Murray Walker once said, and Yakubov experiences that as he goes deep into 15. The rear of the car cuts loose, he brings it back together again off of the pit lane entry road there and turns it around, and that will release other drivers on through, including James Kingsbury. But meanwhile, looking from towards the back of the field to the very front of the field, this is your top three. It's still low ahead of Butler and Dibble, but the difference being here, the gap between the three of them now 8/10 if that, as they make the way out of turn number 6 and charge onwards towards turn number 7 here. And you can see Jason Landry, and Landry right now not able to stay with the pace of this trio. They're lapping in what is the low 33s, and meanwhile Landry by comparison the high 33s. Indeed, Peter on that last lap of 33.3 to Landry's 33.9. We'll keep our eyes on those lap times, given the fact Lowe may have to start going a bit more defensive here, but right now it does seem as though Peter Lowe are really getting comfortable in the lead of this class as they make the way in towards turn number 12. And as they do so here, could we see this being one of those ones where Lowe's just able to break away? Will he be able to hold on? Unlike Zolder, we didn't quite have the leverage in the last few laps in order to bring home the win. Can Peter Lowe do it today as he makes his way through turn number 15? Well, as he comes on through at the long right hand, a time will tell. But meanwhile, the battle for the second place spot on the AM podium is Senegal versus Chong here, as Chong right now moving forward here as he makes his way into the braking zone for turn number 12. Senegal holding on to that second place position for what is Sunday GT Turtles, but the Canadian Slipstream Slots keeping them honest as they make the way on around it to go on to the next lap. Nothing between them as they come on to what will be for them lap number 10. But as Chong builds up the speed here, again, Senegal does have the advantage of having the toe of Porter just in front. The prime of Lee Porter right now, not really able to make too much progress. But then I say that, a little bit of a moment there for Lee Porter is going to cause Senegal to have to take a bit of a rallycross line almost in order to avoid contact. Chong there up the inside gets the better opportunity, but he's not really able to see his lane. And well, great reactions from Mark Senegal in order to be able to avoid that contact and carry even more speed in the process going into turn number 2, and that's actually benefited him. It's enabled him to open the gap up by 2 tenths, but from him, meanwhile, Samuel Bernardi and Ilya Speaker at the hairpin, they swap places, and I think Bernardi letting the position go. Meanwhile, Mark Senegal still keeping Chong at bay, but Chong now getting quite aggressive, looking around the outside to go for the cutback coming out of turn number 6, but you see the power oversteer of all the drivers. Lee Porter afflicted the most there in terms of the power oversteer, and as they head in towards turn number 7, right now the Sunday GT Turtle driver who will ride on board the rear and look back at the encroaching presence of Tim Chong, where it does look as though Senegal are comfortable here in just making his car as wide as it needs to be and making his rival behind do all the hard work to try and surpass his pace. But as they head in towards turn at number 11, again it's the calm before the storm. 4.5 tenths separates them, and I wouldn't be surprised if Chong gets a bit closer given how hard he's pushing here. But could he push too hard in the late stage of this race? We have only got 10 minutes to go by the time these guys get on through turns 1 and 2 on the next lap. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But as they head in towards what is the next lap very shortly, meanwhile we look from them to what will be Charles Halsey and Aben Dorsey. Looking at Dorsey in particular, the second place prime driver, and he's the rear of this Rockefeller Racing Green pair who are leading the way in the prime class, P7, P8 overall, and well, they're chasing after what is Aaron Lahr and closing gradually on Lahr, the pair of them, albeit it does seem as though Halsey is the faster driver of the two of Dorsey and Halsey, and it would seem that right now Charles Halsey is pushing for a P6 finish here, but he is being matched by Aaron Lahr in terms of pace. The two of them at the last lap obviously gained a tenth, but not more than that, and a tenth does take time. But meanwhile, what doesn't take time to lose places is a mistake on circuit, and Mark Senegal experiences exactly that as he comes out of 3 into turn number 4. The Canadian has gone round there, and the Sunday GT Turtles driver brings it back together. But the 227 ends up losing that second place in the AM class to Tim Chong, and Ian Henneberry has found his way on through. Glenn Bratton coming up behind, but Bratton is a lap down, so Senegal will not be too perturbed by that, but he will have Roger Ganesh in the rear of the picture, seeing his rival have that mistake and therefore thinking that he could start to push a little bit closer. But meanwhile, looking up from the AM class back up to the Pro class, well, here's your top 3 still, and I can tell you that Jason Landry on that last lap matched Peter Lowe for pace. Landry put in a personal best, but Lowe right now not stopping in terms comes this pace. It is phenomenal. The pace the 11 driver is putting in here, and Butler and Dibble having to really push hard. As we see Butler taking a very liberal exit coming out the final corner. That's how hard Butler's having to go here in order to stay on the pace, and Tanner Dibble will be right on board as they come through turn number 1 in the chase down towards turn number 2. Well, right now it does seem as though Dibble is the one who's just able to take it a little bit more gradually and calmly by comparison with Butler. And again, the DNA Motorsports pair, they've definitely got the pace to stay with Lowe, but how hard are they having to push in order to be able to stay with them? That's the question. I think we've had an answer from Butler in particular, which is they're having to go well beyond 100% in order to be able to do this. And have they got the stamina to keep this up for the remainder of the race? We're going to see Dibble here just waiting his turn, staying in the toe of his teammate here, and I think the two of them right now are on communications and just saying to other, look, let's just work this out together. We've got a 2-3 guaranteed here in terms of leadership positions, but let's try and nip into that leader Peter Lowe. But Lowe right now is showing no signs of any chinks in his armour. Indeed, he is looking absolutely infallible as they come from the Mercedes arena and onwards towards the stadium they go. As they come through, you can see Dibble, the amount of understeer on the front end of the car, missing the apex of turn number 10. The car grinding its way through the corner effectively on the left-hand side tyres, and as they come through turn number 11 up towards 12, well, that dirty air twofold for Dibble with both cars in front, and even Butler, they're going a bit wide coming through the corner. Also, they're having to drift the car through turn 12. Butler really starting to struggle with tyre temperatures, it would seem, because that car is snaking under braking, and as they make the way through turn number 15, well, the same can be said for Dibble there, as the front end washes out under braking from the dirty air. They make the way through, and again, a run wide from Butler, the same for Dibble. I think Lowe maybe now starting to open up an advantage here. I think he might be feeling comfortable with the fact he's got no dirty air in front of him, and therefore he can really dictate the pace of this race and make life misery for the drivers trying to stay close behind. But meanwhile, in a little bit of a transition further down the order, we have had Lee Porter, who's had an off at the stadium, and Ian Hennery takes P14 overall ahead of Lee Porter. We've also had Avon Dorsey fall from P2 in the prime class, or what was P8 in the class. He's dropped down to P10. He's now behind Keith Wilfred, who's on course for his first podium in the prime class today, if things stay as they are. And here is the Rockefeller Racing Red driver as they make the way down through Parabolica, and the 199 driver, I should say, trying to chase down Milan Harris, but Harris does seem to be breaking away. As they head up towards turn number 6 here, onto the brakes they'll go, and well, from Harris it's then a further, 3 seconds to Charles Holsey, so it does seem as though Wilfred will be focusing more on converting that P2 in the class into a reality, picking up the 2 bonus points, plus also the overall points for P9, which will be a major haul today for the 199 driver, and now I think he'll be absolutely pleased to bits with that one as he comes in towards Mercedes, as he comes through at turn number 8 and makes his way onwards towards the stadium. Meanwhile, a bit further behind, we can see Samuel Bernardi here, the Rockefeller Racing Red driver, now 11.5 seconds clear of Tim Chong, the P2 AM driver. It does look as though for Bernardi it would take an absolutely cataclysmic mistake in order to cause him to lose this win and not make it back-to-back wins after the result of the Hungary. But still, we have got some time on the clock there. Let's not say it's over until that checker flag waves, and he does pass the start-finish line for the final time. But as he comes out to turn number 12, and right now pushing on and trying to chase down Ilya Speaker. Butler here falling away from Peter as we look back to leaders, and you can see that gap now to Lowe. It's up to almost 8 tenths there into what is the right-hander of Uncut Parabolica, and as they come on through this time, I do wonder whether Dibble's now going to start to send some signals to his teammate, which is, look, it's clearly not working out here. We might need to do the swap to chase down Lowe before it's too late. But as they make the way in towards turn number 6, I think we might see Dibble stay extremely close here and look for the move right at the end of the run. Well, again, just waiting, it lifts off, so a lot of patience and respect being shown between the teammates, and Dibble right now really playing as the second man in this pair as they make the way up towards turn number 7. It's great to see, and behind Jason Landry, is he closing? And right now we can tell you that Landry is not closing. In fact, Landry is falling away slightly. 2 tenths has been lost over the last 3 laps to the top 3, so that shows you again just how fast Lowe, Butler and Dibble are pushing. Landry, to be fair, is giving it everything. He doesn't have the toe to work with in front of him, however. That will be scuppering him on the straight, and Landry's got to find it all in the corners, and right now just cannot find the final couple of attempts, which would give him that leverage to stay a bit closer to the leaders as he runs wide. They're coming through turn number 12. Meanwhile, we have had an incident for Avon Dorsey, who's had an off track coming out of the Mercedes arena section, and Dorsey now down towards P11. Ilya Speaker moves into 3rd place in the Prime Class. The Speaker's race completely doing a U-turn in terms of going from disastrous back to good, and Dorsey right now, Samuel Bernardi immediately behind him as they come up through what is turn number 12, And Will Bernardi, we think he can take a P11 and get himself even more points. So James Kingsbury into the pit lane, as we do see Kingsbury making his way on down pit lane. And as he does so here, the Flavour Station Racing driver definitely having a difficult day here at the Hockenheimring. It has not been favourable, and perhaps it'll be better at Le Mans. We'll have to wait and see as he makes his way back up to speed here on the pit lane exit, and that car not looking happy. But as he makes his way gently on through, wary of the potential blue flags, we do look from him to Roger Ganesh, and Ganesh right now being chased by Kevin Manning, albeit Ganesh 9/10 clear as they make their way through the Sud curve, and they still do have the best part of 3 more laps of racing to go. The Sunday GT Turtles driver here being closed up quite rapidly by Manning, and Manning in fact getting closer and closer as they make their way onto the next lap. That gap already down to 4 attempts as they go into the Nord curve. Manning really pushing on here. I think a move's potentially coming by the time we get to turn number 2, let alone turn 6. Manning in the golf machine. He's looking for it, but can't quite find it at the moment. I think he's playing the patience game, and knowing the move needs to be made at turn number 6. That's where you've got the overtaking opportunity, plus also the short run to turn number 7 to get the move all said and done. Before you get into the more narrow sections of the circuit, with Manning in the tow here, he gets closer and closer, inch by inch, little by little. He peels out to the inside here, dramatic as he does, and as he makes his way into the braking zone, it's going Manning on the left of your picture, Ganesh on the right of your picture, and that will be Manning getting ahead for the time being. Ganesh looks at the cut back here. Manning with some power oversteer as he tries to settle the car back down, but Manning's still ahead for now, just about as they come into turn number 7, and now can Manning seal the door shut as he comes into turn number 8? Well, Ganesh looks up the inside here. It's a tight apex. He's going to look for it. Manning gives him the space. Great racing, but Manning in the end does manage to out-edge Ganesh as they made their way through 9 and 10, and that means that the 251 drive from America, the Votan Clan, now holds on to P17 or what is P5 in the AM class as he makes his way into turn number 12. But from him, we look up to Avon Dorsey, who does have Samuel Bernardi waiting in the wings. Should there be another error from the Rockefeller Racing green driver, a second between them right now, if that. And Dorsey definitely just trying to keep things pointed in a straight line to the end of this race to get some good points on the board and what will be a full place in the Pro-Am class. But as he does so, and Bernardi continues to keep him honest. Meanwhile, we look back to your leaders here, ladies and gentlemen. They're on their penultimate lap, on lap number 16 of what will be 17 laps of racing here today in Germany. And as he comes down to the braking zone this time for what is at turn at number 8, it's looking in control here for Peter Lowe. There's no question about it as he makes his way up towards turn at number 12, coming on through here. And right now, as they go in towards 11, Butler still 6 attempts off, and Dibble a further 3 attempts behind. But the key point being in the fact it just looks so comfortable here at this point in time for Lowe. He doesn't look to be under any huge pressure other than the pressure he sets himself as they make the way towards the end of this lap. 1 more lap to go here for the trio of Lowe, Butler and Dibble, and it is Peter Lowe who is in control as he makes his way on around to go onto that final lap. And well, could this be his first win of the season coming up? He'd like to believe it is coming, but again, we won't put the commentator's curse on him as he makes his way through turn number 1 and down towards turn number 2, and then in towards that braking zone. Butler and Dibble there still, as meanwhile a fastest lap of the race of 33.143 for Milan Harris, who's done well to recover to be inside the top 10 overall, but maybe the furthest he goes today. But he will take that fastest lap, and that'll be a little bit of an accolade in his pocket, which he'll be pleased of. Meanwhile, Samuel Bernardi delivers a personal best there, going on to this final lap, currently P12 on a 33.81 to the nearest 100. But as he comes on through, well, right now the Rockefeller Racing red driver, I think Finn saying maybe able to get Dorsey right at the end. Should Dorsey have any errors, but otherwise just having to wait there. So we look from there back to your leaders, ladies and gentlemen, the closest battle on circuit, and we're staying with it all the way to the checkered flag now as they make their way into Mercedes for the final time of asking. Onto the brakes they go, and Butler and Dibble both starting to get a little bit closer. Lowe might be backing off here, knowing that he doesn't need to do anything silly in these remaining laps. But of course, when you start to back off, that is where the mistakes start to occur, when your concentration starts to lapse for a tiny moment, but not that his concentration will lapse at all. Meanwhile, Dibble behind here. Will he potentially take a look versus Butler, or will he just wait there and beat the number 2 today? Be fair, they both earn the right in terms of their positions right now, but as they come on through the last couple of corners here, the checker flag is going to beckon soon. And what was a win that eluded him at Circuit Zolder in round number 2, it's a win that's not going to elude him today, for as he comes through the final corner, the checker flag waves, and it's bare post here as Peter Lowe who takes the win here at the Hockenheimring ahead of Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble in a fantastic battle with the trio. trio. Jason Landry P4 ahead of John Croom P5, and then it will be Aaron Lahr P6 with Pro-Am winner P7 overall Charles Holsey with his first win of the season out of Milan Harris. Keith Wilfred finishes runner-up in the Pro-Am class in his first Pro-Am podium of the season. Ilya Speaker P10, and as Eamon Dorsey comes up through P11, it's Samuel Bernardi in the AM class or Rockefeller Race Red who makes it 2 wins back-to-back in the AM class there for the 2-1-2. Head of Tim Chong, who takes another AM podium for Slipstream Slots. A great drive there from the Canadian driver to finish P13, and he takes that position comfortably ahead of Lee Porter, who will finish P14 in a difficult day today for the middle of the pack racing driver. Ian Hennebury takes another podium in the AM class there for Bear Pope Zero. It's been some time, but he returns to the podium, P15 overall. Head of Mark Senegal, who's been pushed all the way by Kevin Manning, but in the end keeps Manning behind to complete the top 17 with Roger Ganesh P18, and then it will be shortly after James Kingsbury, who's already finished his race P19. Glenn Bratton comes on through to take P20, a lap down like Kingsbury, and then Yakubov will be the last finisher of this race, a lap down at P21. In what has been a challenging day for the Slipstream Sloths driver after that opening lap incident, but still fantastic racing from start to finish, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as our drivers make their cool down laps right now for Peter Lowe, it definitely has been a brilliant drive today. It's not been dominance, he hasn't run away with it, but he's been in control at the front after taking the lead off of Milan Harris following Harris's spin on the opening lap. Unfortunate for Milan Harris, you've got to feel for Harris in the simple fact it was going to be a phenomenal battle at the front, potentially between Harris and Lowe, but in the end Lowe kept it calm, he kept it consistent and didn't let any of the pressure of the occasion get to him, and that's why he is your winner today. And well, meanwhile for DNA Motorsports, what a turnaround here for the pair of Butler and Dillon. The fact a second place and a third place, that will be some huge points on the board for the team. They've definitely not been up there this season so far, but the Central Cup starting to show signs of them finding their feet and finding their pace. And could we see them go one step further? And will be Le Mans in a week's time. Could we see them potentially take a 1-2? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But as everybody makes their way into the pit lane, coming on down here very gradually indeed, we are going to very shortly, ladies and gentlemen, be taking a look back of that incident which started off our race, and what a nasty incident indeed for our drivers. And well, without further ado, we do take a look to that race start very shortly and what did occur as we take a look back at the green flag start. And well, as we do so, the racing got underway, and as our drivers made the way into turn number 1, our focus here will of course be on Milan Harris going into that opening corner through the right-hander, and as he came in to the braking zone here, well, hitting a bit of the apex curve a bit too high and caused the rear of the car to come loose. And then we had that huge moment where we did have what was, I do believe, the Rockefeller Racing gold machine getting collected, and in return that led to the chain reaction behind. We take another look back at the race start, and this time we're going to be focusing the race start from the perspective of what was Tim Chong, who found himself a lot further behind in all of this. And with Slipstream Sloths driver, he gets the start of the race here. He feels like, okay, I've lost a place or two, but nothing too dramatic. Gets a tap on the rear, in fact, from a driver behind, so he can't even make it to turn number 1 before he's turned on around there. We didn't catch that when we went racing, so a nasty start there for Tim Chong. And then as we take a look back to that race start once again, and this time we'll be looking at it from the perspective of what will be Ilya Speaker will be the focus of our cameraman's attention as they come through. You'll look in the background and you'll see Chong. I think he will be tapped on the rear by Lee Porter as they come through. In fact, it won't be Lee Porter. I think that was Roger Ganesh, in fact. And well, in the end, Speaker getting collected there by the wayward car of Harrison. He was the Rockefeller Racing Gold driver who was sent on around. Another driver there as well being collected. I believe that may have been the car of what was, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think it might have been, it was the Rockefeller Racing red car that was collected there. Well, in fact, that was James Kingsbury, I think, who was picked up in the incident. But either way, a nasty shunt for multiple drivers at the start of this race. But as we do make our way back to the end of the race, ladies and gentlemen, what a phenomenal race indeed as we return to what are your pictures here of drivers making their way back to the pit lane, and what a race we have had in the end. Well, with that, let's take a look at those race results subject to any stewards inquiries, and here they are. So as we can see, after what was an absolutely brilliant round of racing in Germany and round number 7 of the middle of the pack Racing League Radical Eurotrip Championship for 2023 as hosted on iRacing and brought to you from circuit side at the Hockenheimring, Baden-Württemberg today, Peter Lowe taking the win for Bear Pope Zero by the best part of what was 6 tenths over DNA Motorsports' pair of Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble. A brilliant fight between the trio for the overall podium, being in Lowe bringing home his first win and not being denied this time. He's been hunting it all season, but he's finally brought it home. Dino Motorsports in return, picking up their first podiums of the season and a double podium of that for the team. That's going to be an absolute plethora of points in the team's championship, and this could be their turning point with Jason Landry, P4 for Sunday GT Turtles, just not quite able to get in that top 3 fight, not able to pick up the toe of the drives in front, and therefore having to settle for 4th place header John Croom, the Rockefeller Racing Gold Drive, putting together another great top 5 finish, not quite able to replicate what he was able to achieve with the win at the Hungary, but still a 5th place, well earned ahead of Aaron Larver, the privateer, who held off Charles Halsey to the line, and the Rockefeller Racing Green Driver being your Pro-Am winner. They're taking his first class win of the season and a great P7 with it, and that's going to be a great set of points to boost his championship campaign. Milan Harris, P8 there for Rockefeller Racing Gold, separating Hosey from Wilfred. Keith Wilfred taking his first Pro-Am podium of the season, P9 overall, and I do believe also that is Keith Wilfred's first top 10 overall of the season. Congratulations to him for the Rockefeller Racing Red Team, ahead of Ilya Speaker, who made his way back onto the podium for Rockefeller Racing Gold in the Pro-Am class, P10 overall, and after that dramatic start which saw him right in the forefront of the major shunt coming out of the Nord curve to recover as rapidly as he did, well, that is testament to the Prime Championship leader's dexterity and ability. Eamon Dorsey, P11 there, with some late instance cost him dear from what could have been a guaranteed 2nd place in the Prime class, but still take 4th place in class, and P11 overall for Rockefeller Racing Green. And as we continue to make our way down the overall standings there, Samuel Bernardi, P12 for Rockefeller Racing Red, taking back-to-back and wins, following the Hungary win. A great job from the 212 driver ahead of Slipstream Slavs, Tim Chong, who once again demonstrates it's not how you start a race, it's how you finish it, and finishing it with a runner-up spot in the AM class. A brilliant drive there from the 222, ahead of Lee Porter for middle of the pack, and then Ian Henneberry, who P15 will round off the AM podium of Bernardi, Chong and Henneberry, finishing 3rd on said podium for Bear Pope Zero. Mark Senegal, P16 for Sunday GT Turtles, not quite able to finish on the podium today in the class, ahead of Kevin Manning, P17 for Votan Clan, and then we can see to round off the top 20, Roger Ganesh ahead of James Kingsbury and Glenn Bratton. We should point out Roger Ganesh was your final lead lap finisher, P18 for Sunday GT Turtles, and then finishing a lap down the trio from what was Flavour Station Racing, the privateer outfit and Slipstream Slavs of James Kingsbury, Glenn Bratton, and then P21 Nick Yakubov. Meanwhile, the retirees from today's racing and commiserations do go to firstly Jesse Jameson Jr., who retired 10 laps in the end for Votan Clan, also Jake Gertson for Reverse Grid Racing after what was looking to be a superb day today for the 16 driver after taking what was a front row start P2, not to be John, well, in fact not a front row start, what was a 2nd row start we should say. And then we can see, well, in fact, it was a front row start. I'll correct myself again there, as my memory does serve me correctly the 2nd time round. And then John Lauzon for Alpha Touring Change Silver with a teammate Francois Schink not able to make it to the grid. And the same for Billman DeCoste there. 26 starters, but in the end, only 21 finishers, and 18 of those on the lead lap. But then we come on to the individual classes, starting with the Pro class, and here we can see Peter Lowe, your confirmed Pro winner for Bear Pope Zero by the 6 times over the DNA Motorsports pair of Jordan Butler and Tanner Dibble, with Jason Landry and John Croom completing the top 5, Aaron Lark P6, head of Milan Harris, and then Jake Gertson and Francois Schink, your 2 retirees. And then coming on to the Pro class, bonus points going to your top 3 of Charles Halsey, Keith Wilfred and Ilya Speaker, and a great drive there from Halsey to finish 4 seconds clear in the end of Keith Wilfred, and Wilfred in return having a 5-second gap to Ilya Speaker when all was said and done. But it's a Rockefeller Racing 1, 2, 3 there across the green, red and gold teams. We've got all colours of the Rockefeller Racing rainbow today. Great to see ahead of Avon Dorsey and then Lee Porter, the last finisher in the class, with John Lauzon, the sole retiree for Alpha Touring Change Silver. And then as we lastly come onto the AM class, as we can see, Samuel Bernardi taking the class win for Rockefeller Racing Red in another brilliant display. 12.6 seconds, the gap between himself and Slipstream Slavs Tim Chong, who in his own right put in a great performance to be a runner-up there ahead of Ian Hennery by 13 seconds. The Bear Pope Zero driver fighting hard to finish on the podium, and a deserved 3rd place podium at that. Mark Senegal P4 for Sunday GT Turtles ahead of Kevin Manning, 2 tenths being the delta between them as they crossed line, and then Roger Ganesh, the last lead lap finisher in the AM class P6 for Sunday GT Turtles, and then a lap down the trio of James Kingsbury, Glenn Bratton and Nick Yakubov, with Jesse Jameson Jr. being the first retiree at P10 there for Photan Clan, and Billman DaCosta not able to make it to the grid, the Bear Pope Zero driver having a difficult day here in Germany. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our rundown of all the finishing positions, and as always, we will bring you an update on the championship standings when we do present the Round 8 broadcast in what will be a few days' time. But it does mean that with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to be on the grid for a future middle-of-the-pack racing league series, or perhaps you just want to find a little bit more about the MPRL community, we firstly recommend checking out the official Discord, link available on screen. That's the invite link, which will take you straight to the Discord and the source of all the action and entertainment, whether you want to be on the grid, just part of the community, or plenty more. But if you're not necessarily wanting to go onto the Discord straight away, perhaps there's a bit too much of a leap for you today, perhaps you just want to know a little bit more about the community via social media, then the best place to go to is the official Twitter. That's the MPRL Twitter at what is twitter.com/MOP Racing, where you can stay up to date with all the latest series information, plus also the latest trials and tribulations of the official middle of the pack racing esports teams as they compete in the official iRacing series events. But now, ladies and gentlemen, attention will turn to the conclusion of the Central Cup for on what will be Monday the 6th of November 2023 as we charge our way into the penultimate month of 2023. We will be making our way to France to bring you all the racing action as if it were live from the circuit to 24-hour Le Mans, or as we all know and love it and refer to it as Le Mans. The racing marker as of tomorrow on what will be Wednesday the 1st of November, but we will be circuit side on Monday the 6th of November for all the racing action to wrap up the Central Cup. And in the Pro class, who will it be at the front of the field who is going to take the Cup Championship? There's plenty of batting out, there's no doubt about it. Will it be Peter Lowe? Will it be Jason Landry? Or will it be John Croom? In the Pro-Am class, Ilya Speaker leads the way comfortably, but could there be a late twist in the tail for Speaker? And in the AM class, it all looks set for Samuel Bernardi, but will Bernardi be able to bring it on home and make it another cup in his pocket? Well, all that and more will be decided at Le Mans. You won't want to miss it, but until then, we've been the Middle of the Pack Racing League. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain and Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.